This episode has been brought to you by JustNForm.com. If you're tired of being censored, tired of having your data stolen and sold, go to JustNForm.com, a social media site where all voices are welcome.
So, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has not even been the Democratic primary nominee for 2 days before the mainstream media has tried to take her message of peace, prosperity, and humanity and turn it into she's anti-Trump. Almost every single conversation that the mainstream media has had with Ocasio has been about or included Donald Trump before or after. And then when the headlines finally decide to cover the things that she says, well, just take a look at this interview.
Now, you have a good shot because it is a majority Democratic district. So there's a good shot that you're going to go to Congress, while not guaranteed. You said because you work in hospitality, you might be able to get people to get on board with your agenda. What is your agenda? Because you describe yourself as a democratic socialist, and that's not an easy term for a lot of Americans. What is the meaning of that for you? What does socialist mean to you?
For me, democratic socialism is about really the value for me is that I believe that in a modern, moral, and wealthy society, no person in America should be too poor to live. That's what I feel.
That seems simple.
Seems pretty simple. So what that means to me is, healthcare as a human right. It means that every child, no matter where you are born, should have access to a college or trade school education if they so choose it. And, I think that no person should be homeless if we can have public structures and public policy to allow for people to have homes and food and lead a dignified life in the United States.
Well, those all seem like very worthy goals. You may get a little resistance from Donald Trump because he said in one of his tweets, he said, wow, big Trump hater Congressman Joe Crowley, who many expected was going to take Nancy Pelosi's place, just lost his primary election. In other words, he's out. That is a big one that nobody saw happening. Perhaps he should have been nicer and more respectful to his president. So I ask you, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, are you going to be nicer to the president?
Well, the president is from Queens, and with all due respect, half of my district is from Queens. I don't think he knows how to deal with a girl from the Bronx.
We'll see. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, everybody. We'll be right back.
Now, I'm an on and off Stephen Colbert fan. I like 70% of the things that he says. However, I do believe that he panders and that he's complicit. I'm still not happy about how he shut down Oliver Stone, or at least cut that part out of his show when he condemned the actions of the Israeli government. But I'm not even going to say that Stephen Colbert was purposely trying to, make her insult Trump per se. But I will say that that conversation wasn't even necessary. He made it seem as if Trump had made a comment specifically towards her, attacking her, and he didn't. He didn't at all. Although I will admit, his Trump impersonation was pretty on point. But Trump was attacking Crowley because, well, Crowley is a rat. I don't like Crowley. He uses politics for political and economic gain for himself and for the friends, his money team friends. Like, that's who Crowley is. Now, obviously, Ocasio's response was pretty respectful. It was funny. It was witty. But her message did not change because she decided to defend herself. I don't know what you expected her to say. Ocasio's message is not anti-Trump, but she's been very clear about this over and over and over again. But yet even CNN opens up with the message about the rally Donald Trump recently had, where he said, well, actually, he complimented Ocasio, saying Crowley got beat by a young woman who beat him with a lot of energy.
28-year-old political newcomer emerges as a star after pulling off a stunning upset over 10-term incumbent Congressman Joe Crowley here in New York. Her win caught the attention of President Trump.
One of my biggest critics, a slovenly man named Joe Crowley, got his ass kicked by a young woman who had a lot of energy. She had a lot of energy.
Joining me now is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Thank you so much for joining us. I think President Trump was praising you there. Your reaction?
I mean, first of all, it is unacceptable to be, disrespectful. I think of Congressman Crowley. He's done some phenomenal work for the Bronx and Queens, and so I'm first and foremost saddened and upset at the disrespect that he displayed at my predecessor, and I mean, it's bizarre, to say the least.
And we'll come back to the president in just a second, but since we have you, and since you are now a new force within the Democratic Party, I do want to get your take on the news of the day, which is major news of the day. Justice Anthony Kennedy is retiring. The president will get to nominate a new pick for the Supreme Court. By all accounts, it will be a Gorsuch-like pick that will move the court to the right. There's very little that the Democrats can do, if anything, to stop this. But what is your advice to your fellow Democrats? How do you want to see Democrats react to this over the next several months?
Well, I think that we should be unafraid to play hardball a little bit in this Congress. After all, the Republican Party, I think, has shown throughout the Obama presidency the extent to which that they would go, to be obstructionist. And while I don't believe that we should be halting progress in this country, I don't believe that the party, that we should be a force for progress. At the same time, they stole the first Supreme Court seat. And for us to take that sitting down in this time, especially when there are so many critical decisions, pending, we're talking about labor rights on the line, civil rights, women's rights, etc. At the very least that we can do, I think, is delay that damage.
How? Practically speaking, how do you fight this?
Well, I think legislatively, once again, we have to create a lot of pressure. I myself come from the background as an organizer. And in order for us to get things done, in Congress especially, I feel like we need to organize inside and outside the chamber. And if we only work inside the chamber, then we aren't going to get too much done. We have to work in conjunction, organize popular support to push our priorities in the chamber, and that's really how we're going to get our agenda and our priorities passed.
There are
Now, Ocasio, once again, she was very respectful about it. She said, look, I don't want you all, I don't believe it's right for Trump to disrespect Crowley in that way, because he threw some jabs at him. And honestly, I feel like that means, okay, you essentially will put up with what you were willing to do. You will put up with the behavior that you were willing to portray. And what that displayed to me is that she has grace and victory. She's not going to attack Crowley. Crowley is not the enemy anymore. Crowley is done. She said she didn't appreciate it. But guess what she does next? Then she goes on to outline a plan for not only how Democrats should fight this Supreme Court justice tooth and nail and not give in and back down like they did on the Obama era, but she outlined a plan going forward, saying this is how we keep our popularity up. This is how we make sure that the next Supreme Court justice and the next Supreme Court justice will be our pick and not theirs. But that part doesn't make headlines. The part where she says we need to have Medicare for all, that there is no reason that in this modern era, any body should actually be starving and figuring out how they're going to put food on the table when we are in the richest economy that we have ever seen in the history of the world. They don't talk about that. She made it very clear in her debate. She made it very clear in that ad that went incredibly viral. To my knowledge, on Twitter alone, it has 2.6 million views. There's no getting this country back by pretending like Donald Trump is the only problem. Donald Trump is merely the symptom. And he's a symptom that is really so unpredictable and so outrageous that he's inadvertently solved problems. So stop corrupting her message. Stop twisting what she's done. Stop twisting what she means to this movement. And how about you focus on what we should focus on, which is her platform and the policies, the very progressive policies that she wants to bring about. Thanks for tuning into that segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa. Make sure that you subscribe. If you can, support the network by going to our Patreon link, which you can find in the description below. Also, join us on JustNForm. But remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.